Welcome to the 2014 edition of the 90 Degree Show, hosted by the Marching Podcast and Blog Talk Radio. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. And here's your host, the Phantom Podcaster himself, Joe Beard.
Good evening, and welcome to the 90 Degree Show. I am your host, Joe Beard, and happy to be of service for you tonight. Today is September 14th, 2014, 5 o'clock on the West Coast and 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live or listening in podcast form through Blog Talk Radio, our website, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, or any other social media device that you may have. At the end of the broadcast, if you decide you like the show, then we appreciate a donation to the network if you feel so in your heart, of course. Just simply go to themarchingpodcast.com and click on the donate button to help improve the show and help build our scholarship fund. All right, we are excited to bring you the show this week. Tonight is our featured matchup between the Jackson State University Tigers and the Tennessee State University Tigers, a la, as we know it, the Southern Heritage Classic, and we'll also get into Morgan State and Bowie State, which was the off matchup that we talked about. We also want to touch base shortly on the People's Choice matchup from last week, Alabama State versus Tennessee State, which turned out to be the most intriguing battle from last weekend, and read what the people have voted as to who won that battle from our website. Now, there are multiple great matchups every week, and we can't touch on them all, but you can help us by calling into the number that you see there on your screen. Fill us in on your experience and or the matchup that we did not see. Or even if you want to call in to correct us on something or disagree with us, please do so. This is a show for the people, and just like science, we want to show and go through as much peer review as possible. All right. Now, we are going to be outstandingly upset because I did not see, Bowie State and Morgan State. I cannot find any tape on that because I really, really wanted to see that matchup. However, in time for this broadcast, we did not find anything, so we'll probably talk a little bit more about Bama State, Tennessee State, and we'll get into our famous word on the street. So let's go ahead and the format tonight's show. We'll be talking about our People's Choice Awards winner from last week, the Bama State, Tennessee State. Go on the website and vote who won the matchup. I'll read that winner. Bring Rashad back in, talk to him about our featured matchup, and the lines will be open for you to call in at any time, 718-664-6025. And like I said, in the second segment, we'll talk about Jackson State, Tennessee State, Southern Heritage Classic, and then our last segment, comments, word on the street, comments from the web. We'll get into Bethune and the trombone and the kicker, as Tom Joyner as well. So let's go ahead and take our first commercial break. You can email the show at marchingpodcast@gmail.com, tweet us at marchingpodcast, or follow our blog 4.themarchingpodcast.com. If you are listening and have a Blog Talk Radio account, you can log in to our chat room, which is opening up right now as we speak, and you can log in and leave your comments there. Last and definitely not least, check out the website, themarchingpodcast.com. Let's take the time to I'm all excited. I can't even get off the show. Let's take the time to hear from our sponsors tonight. Tonight's show is brought to you by Liquid Effects Photography, The Edge One Productions, Block Band Music, Bandhead.org, and HBCUbands.com. Let's take the time to hear from them now.
Hello, this is Christine Nayo-Katzman, CEO and publisher of Halftime Magazine, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
Having an anniversary party, birthday party, or better yet, you're about to marry that special someone? Liquid Effects Photography is the perfect choice to immortalize all your most special moments. With 10 years of dependable professional service that can deliver from the conventional to the best in cutting-edge technology and creativity. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects photography. We serve the entire upper Midwest and will travel further upon request. Come check us out at liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Or call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Edge One Productions. Visit theedge1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Band directors, have you ever found yourselves in this situation? Showtime is quickly approaching. Your budget is quickly disappearing. Your music choices are narrowing. The equipment condition is wearing and your stress level is mounting. Stop what you're doing and contact Block Band Music and find out how we've got you. Check www.blockbandmusic.com, providing music, equipment, gear, and accessories to show style, core style, and traditional bands worldwide.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on Bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out Bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Chopping It Up is a podcast of one-on-one interviews with positive role models that have a connection through music and or education. Chopping It Up is all about inspiring our youth for a great future and providing a roadmap on how to get there. We also chop it up to give insight to anyone looking for information or hope in their endeavors. Chop it up with us on Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at blogtalkradio.com/marchingpodcast. Chopping It Up, changing the world through positive interaction.
We're back with the first segment, and that is Alabama State right now, bringing us back from commercial break. You're free to call in at 718-664-6025. Thank you very much for listening. So before we get too much into our week one matchup, I did want to touch base a little bit on Alabama State and Tennessee State. We'll go ahead and bring in our illustrious co-panelist, the great owner and founder of Block Band Music and Publishing, Rashad Waters. What's going on, Rashad?
My attorneys say that I should actually go by the term nefarious. That's in my contract here. So if you would just refer to me as nefarious Rashad Waters, I would appreciate that.
The nefarious Rashad Waters, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah,
yes,
it's me.
That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope, man. What's going on with you today?
All good, man. I got plenty to say today, man. So I hope, I hope we get time to be able to get in everything. I got a lot of comments on the state of show style bands right now. Very excited about what's going on. But there are some things that we could tweak a bit.
Oh, definitely. We'll definitely make sure we'll get into that. I want to take this time now to read the results from our People's Choice Awards winner. We always have you go to our website, themarchpodcast.com, and vote and click on who you believe to vote to as to who won the Week 2 battle or any battle per week, just make sure you go to marchingpodcast.com. And we actually even updated our logo thanks to John Pickens and Simply Creative. Simply Dope John Pickens. He was actually a guest on our show, so we thank him and his company for our new logo. But definitely go to our website to check that out, and also to vote on who you won. The battle that you won each week. I always got to get going. You know what I'm saying? Got to get warmed up here on the mic. But yes, we want to go ahead and read the results here from the 2014 Week 2 featured matchup here for the People's Choice Awards for the Marching Podcast. We had Alabama State versus Tennessee State. I think last week we talked about Tuskegee and Alabama A&M, and, you know, it wasn't close enough for us to have an intriguing vote. So we went ahead and used the Bama State, Tennessee State, and it was actually a really good battle, really two good halftime shows, one good fifth at the end. So let's go ahead and read without further ado. Let's go ahead and see who won. All right, had a really good turnout, and shout out to all the people on Twitter that retweeted the notice to vote here. But with 57% of the vote, it was kind of close here, 57% of the vote, Alabama State wins the 2014 Week 2 People's Choice Award week matchup.
That was like the 2012 elections. Alabama State must have won California and New York.
They had a lot. I can say definitely, you know, this guy actually was on the 5th, actually talked to me about it, oh, man, you got to make sure that, you know, vote is real. People just say something about their schools. I do know that they were the most active on Twitter, you know, retweeting it out. He had some retweets on the Tennessee State side, too. But I guess, Tennessee State people was cocky about it. It was like, man, we ain't got to worry about that, man. You know, who knows. But congratulations, though, to Alabama A&M. We'll actually kind of touch base on that because it was not on our radar for last week. We had, I think it was, can't remember the matchup we talked. I know Alabama A&M and Tuskegee was one of them, but the matchups that we saw last week we didn't feel was worthy enough. But at least someone brought it up. I know someone, the guy Screaming Trumpet on the 5th, had a nice little write-up about it. So we went ahead and made it the vote. And, of course, after we got off the show, I got to check it out, and I thought it was really good. Shot, I just say right quick about the matchup, what I saw. I thought that Alabama State had good energy, and I think that they always do. But I like Alabama State just because, you know, they're loud and powerful, and they always seem to keep some tubas, like they got a farm out on campus somewhere, raising tuba players. But they seem consistent with that. And I think they had a good show against Tennessee State. They made the Dr. Boyd on the field, which was really nice. And I have to say, I'm not a fan of seeing so many people, though, on the field for the drill. I can see, like, for them, I saw, like, the squads of 4, and then sometimes I see 2 people going off doing something, then I see 3, and then I see 1. And it was confusing because I'm sure, like, okay, are they messing up or are they doing what they're supposed to do? It just looked kind of messy, and then the formation then kind of dissolves itself out of organized chaos. So I'm not really a fan of that. So to me, their precision kind of took a hit.
So you're not a fan of FAMU's general marching style?
No, man. I've never really been. I'm not crunk about that, man. I'm just not, man. Just seeing all them people meshed on the field, I just think it takes away from the actual art of the precision. You can get away with a whole lot more with extra people on the field. And that's of course, hey, it's just a personal decision. I'm used to the 128, but I thought that they had a good sound throughout the show, and it just came down to the dance routine. I don't know, Rashad, man, we got to talk. I guess this is the place to talk about it. But what's up with all the big girl routines? I mean, damn. I don't know, man. Please, let's get away from that, y'all. Let's evolve. I'm not sure, what I thought about the big girls, but when that was like the coup de grace, so to speak, like at the end of the show, I kind of was like let down. It's just like super play.
That's exactly what Tom Jordan was talking about. It's like, you know what? I need to see more from these black college bands. I need more big girls. That's what you got to do. To beat Ohio State, to be more creative than them, that's what you need.
Right. And I wish I had somebody in the background I could do that. I always got to look for a little thing when somebody say something funny. I always got to look for that. But yeah, man, I totally agree. Then Tennessee State, I thought they had great energy, great sound. They looked to be a little bit more precise on the field than Alabama State, but nothing really jumped out to me, like on either show. I have to say the Carlton guy and the Snicker. I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know what the relevance of that, like what's significant about the Snicker or whatever. I do like, like when the students sometimes come out and dance, I think that's added, just for the parents, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit more of a showmanship type of thing. But it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit with some of the stuff. But yeah, definitely the Carlton thing and the Snicker, I don't know. I mean, I thought it was different than Bama State and the big girls. So that's why I was saying for the halftime show, I gave it to Tennessee State just because it was pretty even, but then Bama State came with more of the play gimmick, I guess, so to speak. Tennessee State, had, I guess, Carlton was doing the not unusual, and then, he ate the Snicker, and then he was tight all of a sudden. So I guess that was better than the big girl. So I gave the halftime show, based on precision and everything else being out so close, I gave it that edge to Tennessee State. What you think about the halftime show from Bama State and Tennessee State, man?
Well, I got nothing, man. I haven't seen either one yet, so.
Okay. Well, yeah, I know that that wasn't on the schedule. I just threw that in just because it, try to help support with some of the voting or whatever. I did see the fifth too, and I tell you, man, that I thought that Bama State was loud and powerful, and they seemed to represent what's good with the SWAC or whatever. But they took an L in the stands. And I tell you, man, Tennessee State kind of surprised me in both settings because, we'll get into that here in the next break. And it looked like somebody from the 601 here is in the call. I'm going to get to them in a second. But, they played, of course, Tennessee State's always got a book. So you got to kind of be prepared when you play them, maybe have some, the play calling. You got to make sure you have that pulse of the event. And I don't know. It seemed like, it was the lack of consistency with Alabama State. You get excited and you hear something, they open up, and you be like, oh, man, that sounds good. And then for a little while, you start to hear like a chord or something that wasn't right, or you hear like the meshiness. I think you talked about it last week, just like attacks and releases. And, that's the fine difference between them and like the Southern or them and other SWAC bands is, that clarity. So it kind of showed itself again on they play Ain't Nobody Does It Better. I played it back from the break. And the trumpet section just kind of like didn't terrorize that song like you would think. And I think I can't remember what Tennessee State's response back, but Tennessee State played I think like the James Bond theme. And it was really good. It sounded really, really good. I have to say hats off to Tennessee State for that arrangement and how they paid attention to the dynamics. It sounded really, really good. And that basically just changed the event. Bama State didn't play. They didn't have anything to play back at that. So they started playing like all these slow songs. And they tried to do more with dynamics and more emotion and feeling and all that stuff like that. But you just basically playing a slow song because you can't play anything back, And and then Tennessee State then I think they played like Black and Blues as the Hammer song. Like Bama State was like putting their hats and putting their stuff on, and basically. Tennessee State played as, they marched out. So I gave both to...
Is that a new 90-degree term here?
Like when someone leaves?
Song?
The hammer song?
Yeah, the hammer song.
It might be. I appreciate that, Rashad. I need like a little trumpet fanfare call or something like that. Well, I could just give you a round of applause, so to speak. But it's like I've noticed, like when the band starts packing up and they ready to be out, the other band starts playing something. Let's play something like, that's definitely the hammer song, because that's like the nail in the coffin. While you walking away, this is our party. We having fun, and we about to entertain everybody while you out, cracking your sandwiches, eating on the bus. You know what I'm saying? That's what we about to do. And that's definitely what Tennessee State did at Bama State, man. I mean, it's they just took an L, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because I saw somebody on the fifth saying, like, oh, man, should that really be considered an L? No, nobody wants to stay around. I don't know, man. Where's your heart at? Maybe that's got a little bit more about the student today, but I know we just had certain pride about, you wasn't coming to our stadium and we was about to leave. It was just that pride. So,
right.
Maybe it's just a difference of the people today. You know what I'm saying? But I won't go into too much of that. But, yeah, man, thanks a lot for all the people that voted, and thanks a lot to the Screaming Trumpet Brother. Had the really good write-up. I said, I'll go ahead and read. Well, look, he said, I'll just read. He said, first, he said this matchup was long overdue. Overall, both great showing from both bands. Tennessee State had a great crowd down in Montgomery. The atmosphere was electric, literally, and 2 delays because of the lightning. But the show went on, and the fans turned up. A lot of bands heads from Bama State, Tennessee State, and Bama A&M were in the house making it hype. Wasn't a first quarter. Tennessee State kicked things off with a few songs in the first, got the crowd up. It took an eternity for Bama State to get in the stands after the pregame and get ready to play because of their reality show that starts filming for A&E. Camera crew had to get situated. So that's a little side note that we definitely excited for them to have that opportunity there. Then out of nowhere, they said like 5 minutes into the game, Alabama State hit Tennessee State with a ripping 2-note ringer that made the crowd go bleep. This was wartime. From there, the stands battle went to Alabama State, which I don't agree with. But Tennessee State got the halftime. This should be an annual game. So I was crunk when I read it. I was like, man, I appreciate that. He went into specifics about each overall crowd halftime, after halftime, and the fifth quarter. So you can check that out on our beloved Holy Grail, the fifth quarter. It's Bama State versus Tennessee State. So I appreciate that, you guys giving us the time here to backtrack over one of the battles from last week. But we are definitely now going to get into, after our first commercial break, we are going to get into the great Southern Heritage Classic matchup between Tennessee State and Jackson State here on the 90 Degree Show. Rashad, here, I'll go ahead and put you on hold here, and then we will be back after this commercial break. You're listening to week 3 of the 90 Degree Show.
This is Joshua Cousin, representing the Ocean of Soul, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
Having an anniversary party, birthday party, or better yet, you're about to marry that special someone? Liquid Effects Photography is the perfect choice to immortalize all your most special moments. With 10 years of dependable professional service that can deliver from the conventional to the best in cutting-edge technology and creativity. Come experience the uniqueness of Liquid Effects Photography. We serve the entire upper Midwest and will travel further upon request. Come check us out at liquideffects.com. That's LIQUIDEFFEX.com. Or call us at 773-454-5556. That's 773-454-5556.
From photo shoots to graduation pictures, from probates to band footage, from pageants to yard shows, there's only one team you can count on, the Edge One Productions. Visit theedge1.com and trust me, you won't be disappointed.
Hello, this is Dr. Joel Beard, Jackson State alumnus, 1966. I marched in the Jackson State Marching Band, which was then called the best band in the land. And you are now listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
After that great commercial break, we are listening to the boom right there. I do not know the main artist that sings that song. I just know the brother from 666 Mafia is in that song. I don't know if it's Lady Gaga, but I was really excited. I always hear this song on the radio. I'm like, man, that sounds like a band song. So I was crunk. Oh, I'm sorry. They say turned up. You know, that's supposed to be the new term. When I heard the boom playing this song, and it was hype. Very, very powerful, but I loved it. Love the boom, love that song. With being Rashad back, we'll get to our person here from the 601 and the caller queue. You'll have to call in yourself and talk about the featured matchup tonight. 718-664-6025, Southern Heritage Classic. Memphis, Tennessee, something I grew up going to every year to make sure my dad brainwashed me to go to Jackson State, and it worked. Let me say thanks out, shouts out to your dad, Trump Funk 62, and you're here talking about it now. It's a matchup that I always look forward to, especially since Tennessee is so good nowadays. You're here with the 90 Degree Show. Thanks for listening. Let's go ahead and get to the caller from the 601. Caller from the 601, what's your name and where you calling from tonight?
Maurice Bailey.
Oh, Maurice, what's going on? Trump Funk 94, what's going on with you, man? Good to hear from you here in 2014. How's your year been going for you, Maurice?
It's been going pretty good. How about you?
Oh, man, I'm doing all right, man. You know, these kids getting older, so, you know, they running me around the house a little bit more. So,
I hear you.
Yeah, man. So, man, I'm glad that you called on. Definitely our Jackson State expert and great mentor here in the Trump Funk status, or Echoes of Hell, so to speak. And I was gonna get into it, man. So, did you check out the game? Did you go to the game this weekend?
No, I did not go.
Did you
it's my
check
first
out
time
the
missing that? I did. This was my first time missing that particular classic in 20 years.
Wow. So wait. So you didn't go at all? Like you wasn't in the game?
Nope.
Like you weren't in Memphis and you didn't go to the game?
Nope. First
What?
time since my crab year. Yeah. First time since my crab year.
Wow. It's funny you say that because I just assumed you just gonna be there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey man. So what did you think, man, of the matchup?
I saw a good piece of the matchup. I think I have a family member that's in the band. Some people may be listening to this show. I don't even want them to know it's my family member. I'm not gonna say what section they're in, but I asked them, were they having fun? And he's a freshman. He texted me like, well, you know, it's on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a 5. I was like, what? What you talking about? You a freshman? You supposed to have the best experience ever.
Right.
He was like, well, you know, they beefed up TSU, talking about they sound like this, but they really wasn't what I thought they were going to be. And, you know, I felt where he was coming from. I basically am a fan of both the bands in that particular classic, but, of course, you know, I can be biased when it comes to Jackson State. But I am one of these people that's more of a critic against where I came from than I am other bands sometimes. Like, hey, that's part of who I am. But I didn't get a chance to look at the TSU halftime show, but I got a chance to look at Jackson State's halftime show, and it was pretty good. I got a lot of people texting me, you know, on the phone because I'm out of the state right now. And they were texting me, telling me the band sounded good. They did this, they did that. I've been on the show since the beginning. In the first segment, I heard y'all talking about Alabama State and the Fat Girls and how they putting their. You know, we've always talked about how gimmicks always seem to wind up in bands these days. It seems like more in the 80s in the 80s,
politically correct term is big girls.
the honeybees is what they call it, the honeybees.
Right.
But it seemed like in the 80s, bands were more on, hey, let's get out and let's do something, and let's talk about the other bands, making fun of the other band. In the 90s, it stayed in that realm, but it got more into doing productions, doing more than just being something, I guess, just a regular drill, dance team and then dance routine. And it seems like in this era, in this particular dispensation, especially in this last decade or two, the gimmicks have just taken over. I mean, literally, it's just a part of it. And I think it's a cultural thing, and I think it's something that is that's also influenced by television, because you know how there are a lot of commercials out, and these commercials are all funny. That everybody wants to get a commercial that everybody remember, and most people remember a commercial that's funny. So people do gimmicks in these bands, and I think it's something that we're going to be looking at Joe, probably till your kids get grown, they in a band somewhere. They're going to still be doing gimmicks in black college bands. But Jackson State had one of those shows that was like that was a nice signature show. I always talk about how if they ever got hold of one genre, and that genre is the gospel, if they ever put a gospel song, a good one, in their book, they should do it every year, but if they ever did that, then they would beast. And they did. They finally put a gospel song in their book this year, that Smile by Kirk Franklin, and they put it on the field.
Yeah. And
it sounded great. The band is not marching 128. They're marching more than 128 this year.
I noticed that.
Which the six smaller size company fronts look good with the band. The band hadn't done that since in a long time. I think probably some early 80s tapes that I've seen, they put that many company fronts on the field. But the sound is immaculate. They're working with, they started out with about 50 trumpets. Now they're working with probably about 48, somewhere in that 47 or 48. The brass sound is just crazy, man. Mm-hmm. Crazy. They came out with, on the field with Sing a Song, which is Earth, Wind & Fire, which is a very good drill song, in my opinion. I think it works for what the concept of the show was good. I think that sometimes we look at bands and we just look at what they play and how they do it and don't really look at the fact that the show is supposed to have a certain concept there. And I think Sing a Song was a very good song to put to the drill they did. The drill was pretty clean. Mm-hmm. They got through with the drill. They went straight into Smile, and they dedicated to all former band members.
Yeah.
They also should have dedicated, and I think that was very good. They also should have dedicated to the football team because they got killed.
Wow.
They needed a reason to smile also. But I mean, it was just ironic. I mean, the crowd was singing it, and man, when they got to that middle part, the bridge of the song, and they opened up, man, I'm telling you, that band, the formation, the JSU formation is set up to where you have your melodic instruments or your trumpets in the front. So even though this year the trumpets, having 48 of them, they are not as loud as a lot of people think they should be. But you can set up your band. That JSU formation is just a great formation. When you turn to the front, I mean, the sound was just. Anybody who hadn't heard that show need to go hear it and just listen to the sound the band is getting. I mean, that sound. Joe, I don't think I said perfect too many times, but at that point, that was a perfect sound. You had all that brass coming in your face. You could hear every single intricate part. The band was crystal clear and clean on that song, and of course the crowd was singing. So I think that was real good. J-Sets came out. J-Sets did their thing. I can't quite remember the song that J-Sets was dancing to. It was a new song this week.
Yeah, I never remember those songs unless it jumps out at the page because it's the J-Sets.
I normally do remember, and I forgot. But I ended up after the J-Sets did what they did. They had a dance routine, and of course they used a gimmick. They came out with Hootie Hoo, which I think I don't think that worked as well. I think they could have picked something else, but that's just me, because Hootie Hoo now is old, but it's pretty much signature JSU now because they've been playing every year. And they have a Caucasian fellow in the trumpet section this year. So they brought the Caucasian guy out and let him get in the front and dance, and that was Jackson State's, little piece of gimmick.
Little gimmick, yeah.
So, yeah, and so most bands are doing it. I just think that I agree with you, Joe. I'm getting tired. I mean, I'm getting tired of the honeybees. I'm sick of them. You just move on, do something else. You know what I'm saying? At least if you're gonna do a gimmick, do something different. But now they're making the honeybees a part of what they do. It's almost like another auxiliary, literally. So
they need to get a trademark. They need to get honeybees trademark, and then it probably cut down on a lot of, Rashad, what you think, man? Did you get a chance to check out the halftime show?
I did. I saw the halftime show and also the fifth quarter battle. And
okay,
so,
what was the great analysis?
Okay, you want to run down both or just halftime?
Let's just go over halftime and then we'll see what we talk about the fifth together.
Okay. Halftime, I enjoyed Jackson State's show. I thought it was very precise. I will say I thought the show was kind of boring, personally. I think particularly the tempo slowed down a little bit on Smile. And that the tempo slowing down is not a problem. It's just the show didn't build to a climax to me. This happened last year where we had these really hyped battles like Jackson versus Tennessee State or Jackson versus, Southern. We're like, oh, man, these are great fans. Here we go. Let's see what they got. It's like, that was kind of okay. And that's kind of how I felt. I didn't really feel that intensity. I think they pretty much did the same show as they did last week or the first time I've seen them this year. And I feel like the energy level was a lot higher then, but I just didn't really feel that intensity for what was going on. So I really wasn't all that excited about the show. I thought the white guy that came out there and danced, I thought that was hilarious how he just kept shaking and kept shaking and kept going. That gimmick ended up working for them, but I'm like you, the gimmicks were kind of played a little bit. We need to be more creative, but that worked. For our Tennessee State show, of course, somebody posted up there that it's kind of hard to videotape both of those shows because both bands perform for their home crowd. So Tennessee State's show I saw from the back, and so it was, of course, harder to judge them versus Jackson State. However, I thought Tennessee State's show was more interesting. I can't say that they sounded better or worse, but I thought it was more interesting. For them when they came out there and immediately they ran and they formed. What was that formation they made? Something.
I was about to say Dr. Boyd, but it was M-Town.
M-Town, bam! They went right into M-Town and formed that formation. And then later on they formed the Womack on the field. I just kind of thought that stuff was interesting. You will hear this, however, when I start talking about the fifth quarter. I don't really think that Tennessee State, however, really nailed it. And I think that there's some things they could have done in order to nail it. Like, for example, when they ran into the M-Town, they could have ran into M-Town and then, bam, hit you with sound right then. And that would have been massive as far as excitement was concerned. Instead, they went to the M-Town and they kind of went to Mezzo Forte right there. And it was like it was waiting to go to a build-up, and they never got to the build-up. It was kind of like, that was pretty good, but it was not quite there. Same thing when they made their straight lines on the field in order to put something on to make a formation. So you're like, oh, what are they going to make? What are they going to make? What are they make? Oh, here's these diamonds, and these diamonds, they're doing step twos, and step twos weren't all that perfect. They weren't all that great. Here's the thing about step twos: don't do them unless they're going to be perfect. I mean,
thank you.
I mean, that's it. That's really what they call it. If you can't do step twos perfect, you don't need to do them. Because when you do them perfect, it's like, wow, that's amazing. When you don't do them perfect, you're like, what's that? And that's exactly what happened. Like, what is that? It's just like, it looks like they made a chain on the field and they were playing, break every chain, because they were breaking all the chains. It just looked terrible. But they made the Womack, and I thought that was cool. I thought the slow song was cool, how they dropped out everything. No percussion, no tubas, and they got the audience, singing along with them. I thought the dancer team was pretty cool. They dropped on the ground at the end. But they didn't. If you watch the individual players, it's not like they had a whole lot of energy in between the individual people that were dancing. So
right.
I thought this show was more interesting, but it definitely was not like a landslide victory over Jackson.
Okay, that's what's up, man. What's really good, I think, about what you said, and it was basically you kept saying cool, and that's basically what sometimes Tennessee State. I mean, they cool, like they're a great band, but like you said, they don't hit it out of the park sometimes. I would just say, I'm not a fan of seeing so many people on the field, and like you said, when you do those step twos, I like it because when you don't have as many on the field, I think it jumps out more. It's like it's in 3D or it's in HD versus when you got 200 people on the field doing step twos. Like you said, unless they're perfect, it will look kind of confusing for a second. There were flashes where it looked good, and then they kept moving, and then of course it may be off a little bit here, but there's so many, the kaleidoscope effect didn't stay. I actually tried to rewind it back, 3 or 4 times to kind of watch it, and it didn't stay true to the integrity of the shapes. I think that, but if you have less people, and like you said, you hitting it on the dime, I think that's what makes it draw out. So I'm not going to lie. Like you said, they may have done more things, more formations. I got on Jackson State in our first week because, I said we could take a page from A&T, probably have some more showmanship or do something else other than our show. But I am not going to lie. Tennessee State, and I saw South Carolina State doing this year. It's just something else that's getting on my nerves, y'all. The band turning into a choir. Yeah, get that out of here, over here. You know what I'm saying? You saw the performance, Rashard, from the back. I saw the tape from the Tennessee State side, and people actually were starting to boo when they started to do that. They actually did the same thing in the 5th quarter. They played the same song and then started up in the stands during the 5th quarter. And that almost made me feel like, oh, man, they took an L other than Bama State, just putting their tail between their legs, But it was just like, wow, it's just like y'all turning into the Glee Club on me out here. And I don't know, you're not pulling any, emotion when you start holding up your hands and, you starting to sing and all that. That's kind of whack to me. So it definitely put them down 2 notches when I heard them singing. And especially you don't expect that from a band that's got so many songs. I mean, isn't that an oxymoron, Tennessee State playing singing? Tennessee State's supposed to have a book, right? So I don't know. I didn't enjoy that. But I do love that Tennessee State or that TSU that they go into at the end. That looks good. Even though they get there really confusing and chaotically, I like how that looks there at the end. Jackson State, like you said, it was a standard show, but they are loud, man. I mean, they are powerful, and to the rear, to the side, any way you got it, that sound is coming out. And I love the structure and seeing those company fronts move into their formations, at a time. You don't see people running from end zone to end zone, maybe like Bama State. You see the structure, you see the 4 squads, and then you start to see the JSU starting to come out. I appreciate the shout out to the former band members, you know what I'm saying? It teared me up when I was watching it. And I was like, hey, I appreciate that. I was smiling. And
hold up, Joe. Hold up, man. They should have called an L because of that. Because anybody else has pulled at your heartstrings, you've always wanted to give them an L. All of a sudden, it's a shout out to the old JSU members, and it's all good.
All right. You're probably right. You're probably right about that. See, that's why I need somebody else on the show. Okay, but maybe they wasn't pulling at my heartstrings as bad as when we see it. I was just about to say because it was Jackson State. All right, well, I don't know. That's a tougher right there, Rashad. you all right, but what I'm saying, I guess, well, I guess that worked for me, I guess. That was cool. I don't know what else to say, but yeah, maybe that I should have took a couple points away for that. So yeah, just for the sake of the show, I will. And then I was excited about the white dude too. I'm just breaking down myself. I was kind of excited but I was excited more because he played trumpet, and I was like, oh, this dude might be Trump Funk. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that's tight. So yeah, maybe there was some gimmicks involved at Jackson State show that I probably should have took points down for. So, but I was more upset at the singing. You see how the singing is worse? You see what I'm saying? I don't know. I felt the singing was worse, so I maybe give it to the boom on a technicality. We doing pretty good with time. We can go into the fifth. Maurice, did you get a chance to check out the fifth?
I did get a chance to check out the entire fifth. It was a struggle because where I am, the internet doesn't work all that great, no matter how much you're paying for it a month. But hey, it was the power of the band is undeniable on Jackson State's end. Anybody that says the band is not powerful, they're a musical idiot. The lower brass is killing. It's just like the old school Taylor days, the late '90s and the late '80s and the early '90s. Man, Taylor is going to have that lower brass sound. Those trombones, man, baritones, tubas, man, they are killing, and they get stronger every week from the tapes and stuff I've been hearing. But on the fifth, Jackson State came out with Partition, which is supposed to be one of the loudest songs this year. I have a lot of critiquing on what they did, and there's no way I'm going to have time to go through all this. But I basically wrote down a lot of my critique because I'm not in Mississippi, and a lot of this critique I wrote down for some of the people that I know that are in the band. What I do, I'm one of these people, and I just believe that if you're going to be a true old head and talk about the sound and talk about what's going on, you need to be man enough to go to the people that are in charge and let them know what's going on. And that's what I do. A lot of people don't know I do that, but I just go ahead and let you know I do that. I would text and I would go up to a person at a game and be like, look, y'all sounding like this right here. Y'all need to do this. Somebody needs to be trying to do this. You know, that's just how I am. I do it all the time. And as loud as the sound of the lower brass is, at some points the trumpets just get drowned out with 48 of them. The sound of Partition was pretty good. They had a couple of things in there with the first song that I felt like they could do to clean the song up a little bit, but the power was there. Of course, TSU came back with the Beyonce song. I think they played "Bow Down," and I think I'm just going to say this like it's going to come out because I feel like I'm trying to fix it up, and that just ain't me. I'm sorry. So, Rashad, Joe, I apologize. It just ain't me to fix it up, so I'm just going to say it. TSU has converted into their tuba section being the feature and all the rest of the band members being the lay people.
Wow.
Because it just doesn't make any sense how you got real men on sousaphone, but it's like you can't find nobody else to play any other instrument worth it. And it really is upsetting simply because I remember a TSU that used to have, I'm talking about full sound in all sections. And when you got a band that's where that brass is coming at you like JSU, man, you can't just come out there pussyfooting. You got to come out there really doing it. And I feel like the only somebody that was coming with real power and real, I guess you could say, real grown madness was the tubas at the time. The Bow Down was okay. The trumpets weren't really there for me. But I guess it was a good song to play back to Partition. The next song was Chicago by Jackson State. That's the Michael Jackson song. They sounded pretty good on it. The bass line was pretty good. Of course, that sound was there. I don't think the trumpet struggled as bad on that one. TSU came back with that Usher song. I can't remember. Rashad, you might remember the name of it. I can't remember the name of that. Good Kisser, new Usher song. Yeah,
Good Kisser. Yeah,
they came back with Good Kisser. And I hate the fact that that these people have horn holders. TSU mellophone section is completely non-existent the entire fifth. I mean, I found myself not even. I was trying to listen to the bands, but I found myself just honing in on TSU, trying to hear what, if anything, a mellophone player was ever going to do in their band program. And it was really kind of upsetting me because, I mean, it didn't make any sense. I'm used to hearing trombones from them, and I'm used to hearing trombones that you should fear. And this year, the trombone section TSU just wasn't doing it for me. They didn't sound all that great. But I'm gonna
Maurice, hold on, Maurice. Let me go ahead because I see somebody. I just looked somebody from the 678. 678. If you're out there listening, we're about to get to you in a second. But Maurice, who you think took the W here in the fifth?
I think that definitely JSU took the W, and the reason why is because of the song selection was better. I don't agree with them. I wasn't too much happy about them playing "Say La La" in the fifth against TSU, but TSU just did not have. They played Black and Blues in the fifth. TSU had some good. They played "I'm Dreaming" in the fifth. TSU had. The song selection wasn't horrible. It's just how they sounded playing. I think they played "Nobody" by Keith Sweat.
Yeah.
They just didn't have intensity, and some of the sections just weren't doing their job. Trumpet at some points was just gone straight out. You know, I can't give a band a battle just off song selection. You got to do something whatever the songs are. And to me, I feel like they need to take every single Mellophone scholarship and just start over, because they're gonna go to the games and not play. You can just leave, just don't have no Mellophones. Just have all, however many, 12 of them to stay at home, and you just start over another year. Because if they're giving out scholarships in the Mellophone system, they're losing money.
Oh,
man. You got a caller here from the 678 area code. Caller, sorry I didn't see you. But go ahead and give us your name, where you calling from tonight.
Will from Nashville, Tennessee.
What's going on, Will? How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good, man. I just came to get my analysis on the game because I was there in the stadium.
Okay.
You don't play Mellophone, do you?
All right, well,
oh, no, I'm a alumni. I'm a tuba player.
Okay.
Thank God.
You go to Tennessee State?
Yeah, I graduated from Tennessee State.
Okay, well, welcome, brother.
Well,
go ahead, man. Tell us what you think, man.
2013.
What do you think about the halftime show?
I just graduated. Halftime show was on both sides good. Jackson, classical Jackson. I think they put about 192 on the field. Biggest I've seen them in a long time. Really good show. Really good sound coming off the field. I just kind of picked up what the guy just said about the French horns and like that. It's a taste different. Let me just finish my halftime. Halftime was good on both sides. I like the white dude over there. It brought excitement because Jackson, usually Taylor is pretty formatted and his shows always clean. Can't doubt that. Always clean, but always formatted. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the size, and I enjoyed the sound, and crisp sound. Yeah, I was really crisp on what y'all do. TSU, big formation, bigger, spelling out names, what they do. Like you said, I did expect more sound coming out there from the beginning of the show. I thought they'd have more fanfare out here at Alabama State, but they kind of just dropped the ball on that first song. They kind of lost everybody from then on. From that first M-Town formation, people expected them to go ahead and come with the heat. And then when they didn't get that, they were just like, "Oh, okay, we just watched the show." And you know, it was an okay show. Earlier, you said you didn't get the whole Snicker thing. It's a commercial out there where old people eat a Snicker bar and they're transformed back to their regular self. That's what the whole thing was. Like the unusual thing was the Carlton dance. He ate the Snicker and then transformed into the cool guy he's supposed to be, and that's when the dance kind of turned up. That's the thing that we're trying to get from that whole situation. It was a nice way to use it. Yeah. He transformed back into his normal self. And, of course, I love the big TSU formation on the field. It looks great. Fifth quarter and game, out there at the game, I guess it's some stuff that you don't get to see on TV or tapes. There actually were sectional battles. Tuba section, okay, you should know what to expect from TSU. JSU played, I think, one fair, they just played all high Fs. I didn't even understand why they did that, but it was interesting. But that's what Dog Team always felt. It's like I can appreciate and respect you standing up. Trumpet section actually had a really, really good battle. TSU had about 40 trumpets. JSU had about 48, I think you heard you say. And the battle was pretty good. Now, this is the problem coming. Trombone battle was great also. No baritone and drumline, of course, that's all game long. Drumline battle forward, back and forth. I'm not a drummer, so I couldn't tell you who won that.
Right. Yeah, none of us ever do. We don't never know about that stuff.
And dances all look the same to me. I'm sorry, I just couldn't tell you. Fifth quarter, moving along. This talking to some of the current boomers in the band and TSU people, man, it all comes down to sometimes stylistic points. And Jackson, a Ranger, and TSU Ranger are just different but good at what they do. Earlier you said the French horn part, need to take all these scholarships. I differ because I hear their runs. Like, if you hear Bun Upper from last week, you can just hear the runs coming through the band, and they're playing in the staff. What disappointed me about Jackson just a little bit, and I cannot deny their power on all their songs, but when you have 26 mellophones in Jackson State Band, and you got 26 baritones, I mean, how can you have a trumpet section to match that? You got 48 trumpets. I'm sorry. You said take the scholarships of those French horns at TSU. You need to take about 10 of those French horn players and put them on trumpet. Because 26 mellophones? What's the point of having a trumpet section?
You don't need to take mellophones and put them on trumpet because it's enough trumpets there. That's ridiculous. Yes, sir. 48 trumpets can't balance that. They have enough in numbers. I agree with you. Probably some of those trumpet players at JSU scholarships need to be taken too. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't make, and whatever the mellophones did with TSU last week with Alabama State, they did not do it in this fifth against Jackson. I'm sorry.
It definitely was a gift.
And I can respect
Donovan Wells, ladies and gentlemen.
Sir? Okay. And it's like, I can agree. I can't totally agree because it's a style different. In Tennessee State, I heard their mellophones in the staff. Jackson mellophones, I couldn't hear them in the staff. I heard everything above the staff when they're taking it up and just bringing that straight heat, but they just disappeared at points. It was like, okay, wait for it. Okay, here comes the mellophones. Wait for it. Okay, here comes the and that works for some people's style, but I hear TSU, they might not be in your face smacking you around mellophones, but also they don't play mellophones. They play French horns. You gotta make that difference. It's a difference. Yeah, it's a difference.
Even if they are playing marching French horns, they need to be heard. Some of those songs are songs that TSU been playing for a while, and I know they got mellophone parts that need to be heard. So I'm sorry. Some of that stuff. The only song I know that the mellophones for Jackson State, because one thing, I'm biased, but I tell the truth when it comes to the sound I'm hearing. Getaway was the only thing that I know that our mellophones they came. They was really sitting on that. They were sitting there waiting for certain notes. But when it all comes down pound for pound, I shouldn't be stressing to hear the parts coming from a section. And the thing is, I'm not even saying I was stressing to hear parts from TSU. I'm saying they weren't playing. They just straight downright wasn't playing. And I know you were there, and I'm there. I've been there every year ever since. I've never been really, really that impressed by the mellophone section. But this year, I can say I couldn't hear nothing. All right?
That's what's up, y'all.
Really
well, that's what's up, man. What's your name again, brother? I'm sorry, what's your name again?
I'm William Jackson from what's called Tennessee State or Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay, hey man, well I appreciate. I was gonna say, man, we gotta cut you off because it looked like y'all done started a conversation, more calls, and we still didn't even got into the last segment of the show. But I appreciate your call, man, and I'll definitely be looking out for you there. I see your number here. We looking out for you here in the future, man. But I appreciate the call, man.
Joe, can we ask him when year he graduated? When year he graduated?
2013. I'm a recent grad.
Oh, man.
Well, y'all tuba section was great over there now. You will not hear me talk about TSU tuba section. Y'all some mean. I don't care what nobody say.
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
We do things. I'm sorry, it's just the way we do things at TSU. We raise our kids a certain way, and it's just entrenched in a culture in the tuba section. We got 31. I'm sorry, it's just no hope for a lot of tuba section out there when they go against us. It was 3 rows of tubas, if you haven't seen it. It was 3 rows of tubas, and you never seen that before.
That's what's up, man. Well, we appreciate the call, man. 718-664-6025, Rashad, man. We got to go ahead and let's get your analysis of the fifth. We got to take this last commercial break and do our word on the street. But, yeah, it's already 1 hour in the show already, man. So go ahead, let us know what you think about the fifth right fast, man. We got to push it along.
Dude, I have been sitting here going through this back and forth in my head over and over again and saying, do I really want to say this? Is this really accurate? This is really what I believe? But I got to be true to my heart, man. I'm going to give you this analogy here. Let's say you have a football game, and one team is obviously better than the other one, but they make a lot of penalties, and they lose because of the penalties. That was my impression of the fifth quarter battle. And first of all, I'm going to tell you what I thought. I thought I would give the battle honestly to Tennessee State. I know I have everybody just said, say what? just then, but I will give it honestly to Tennessee State. Here is the reason.
I'm going to say that after you explain it. Mm-hmm. I don't want you to tell me what JSU did to lose. Tell me what TSU did to win.
Sure.
I got it. Okay, go ahead.
No, Tennessee State just didn't lose is all they did. They didn't do anything to win. But as far as Jackson State was concerned, Joe, let me ask you this. How many people does it take to play one note? Seriously,
everybody.
How many does it take? And I'm glad my man just pointed it out. Like Jackson has 26 baritones and 26 mellophones, okay? Why are all of them playing the same note all the time? You know, from a musical perspective, it doesn't make sense. There are so many times when I was listening to Jackson State, okay, and the song's like, okay, I know what this song is. Like, for example, Dark Horse, everybody, a great song. There's so many times in the song where you're kind of like, particularly from the lay person, that's like, okay, here's the band. I don't even know what's going on right here. Like, everybody knows the beginning of the song. Okay, the trumpets are playing that at the beginning, okay? Well, like in the measure 5 or something. But you can barely hear it. And it's not the trumpet's fault. It's, and there's another part later on where the trumpets have the melody again by themselves. And once again, come on. Arranging needs to change. Here's what I mean, okay? There used to be a time back when bands were maybe smaller, and so you only had maybe, let's say, 4, 6, 7, 8 baritones, 6, 7, 8 mellophones. And so you put everybody on the same part because you only had so many. But when you've got 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 baritones, it does not make sense to put them all on the same part. It doesn't make sense. Split those baritones in half and have 10 of them playing the melody with the trumpets and the rest of them doing those power notes like that. So here's the reason why I gave Tennessee State the win, because there's so many times from a musical perspective that balance was completely out of the window, where I was like, I don't even know what's going on. I don't even know what I'm listening to right now. It was so many times. With Tennessee State, one thing about them, and I will, my man, what's your name over there?
Maurice, I'm going to agree with you completely, man. They have a lot of horn holders over there. There's no doubt about that. There were so many times it was a lack of confidence. Somebody said it's a lack of intensity. It wasn't a lack of intensity. Right. It was a lack of knowing the music. Now, but Tennessee State is different than other bands. Like we heard A&T the other day, and they didn't really know their music. But when A&T doesn't know their music, you hear the mistakes. With Tennessee State, it's kind of like if you don't know the music, don't play. So, but here's the thing. There was never one time that they sounded bad. Every time I heard them, they sounded good. I never heard a wrong note. I never heard, oh, God, they don't know that. It's just kind of like they don't really feel comfortable with that. But there was never a time going from song to song to song where I couldn't pick out the melody. I couldn't tell what was going on. I could hear them every time. So it wasn't great. No doubt, it wasn't great at all. But Jackson State
all of their arrangements weren't great either.
Huh?
All TSU's arrangements weren't as good as they normally are either.
TSU absolutely was not great. And I think that Tennessee State, I think that it's going to be two things. I got two comments on that. Either, number one, next year it's going to be Tennessee State's year when all these new freshmen learn the music, or two, maybe they need to bring Hazen back. I'm just saying. So, but let me go back real quick, and I'll finish with this. I hope people from Jackson State are really listening to me.
They just need to let the TSU need to let their tuba sections give the band a clinic. What are you all doing? They need to just. I'm serious.
Maurice,
because whatever the sousaphones were doing at TSU, they got it.
I would disagree with you on that. I'm not particularly impressed, honestly. They've got 30 I would like more. And from both tuba sections, honestly, the articulation for both sections, for both bands, the tuba sections, as far as articulation is concerned, are the weakest section. And that's the problem that we're having across show-style bands, is that when you have really articulate, really clean upper voices, the tuba sections are splatting and splitting, and this is something that we need to work on across our art. But in last, I hope the people from Jackson are really listening to me. And please, understand what I'm saying here. We've got to change how this music is arranged. You've got to split up some of those mellophones and split up some of those baritones to accompany those trumpets. You're going to have the melody, or you're going to constantly have something that only band people can appreciate. But if I was to take this video of Jackson State and let my parents listen to it, let my girlfriend listen to it, they're going to say, "What's that?"
Man, it's so much to say. That's a whole other show. It's so much.
But it's actually, it's a really interesting point. We just had our director series this summer with Dr. Davenport, and he was talking about making sure that you have a band program, and you actually are raising musicians versus bandsmen or whatever. And it's
actually everything Rashad is talking about is administrative stuff.
It's definitely something to be said, per se, about specific musicality. Or, that's definitely why I talk about Rashad and people who were, like, music majors, because, I couldn't do it back in school. They're able to say, like, what musically it sounds, because, I'm going to be crunk about the band stuff. Right quick, because, man, we way over. Let me just say, I thought I gave it to the Boom just because the look on the TSU faces, about 20 minutes into the film, I think I saw shout out to you, Gerard Howard, HBCUbands.com. I saw his film of the fifth, and it was the look on Tennessee State's faces. If you guys look at the 20-minute mark and they're playing something back, it's just the look on their face, lack of intensity, lack of confidence, not knowing the music, and that to me is what gave me the deciding edge, especially after I just watched them play Alabama State the previous week, and they played Bond, and they seemed to have a little bit more confidence. They were sticking their chest out a whole lot more, and it was like, you definitely gonna be, you got to be scared, Jackson State. But then they kind of like, I think they were intimidated, laid down, in the stands to me. So I gave it to the Boom just basically on that. But I appreciate the analysis, fellas. We got to do one more commercial break. I got to get this in because we way over. But again, looks like Rashad went with Tennessee State, and Maurice and I went with the Boom. I guess that's pretty obvious. But we'll come back with the last segment here on the 90 Degree Show with our word on the street, and we'll get out all the information that we want to talk to here. You're listening to the 90 Degree Show here in the Market Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Dr. Joel Beard.
Good afternoon. This is Dr. David A. Paget, the Director of the Geographic Information Sciences Lab at Tennessee State University, and you're listening to the 90 Degree Show here on the Marching Podcast Network.
Need to write music and drill? Get it on the field. Outfit your band. Keep your administrator happy and still have a life. Encountering drama in the process, ain't nobody got time for that. Let block band music assist you with musical arrangements and drills to fit your band, and also the equipment, gear, and accessories to keep the visuals, music, and marching on point. Contact blockbandmusic@gmail.com and see how this worldwide minority-owned business can uplift your band.
What if there was a Facebook for bands? Wait a minute, there is. Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org is a social network for HBCU show bands. You can create your own profile and post videos, photos, and comments on Bandhead.org. Need somewhere to post events, audition schedules, job postings? Check out Bandhead.org. Are you recruiting for talent? Go to Bandhead.org. Bandhead.org, a social network for bands.
Hey, Bandheads, this is Christy Walker. I'm alumni of the North Carolina A&T Blue and Gold Marching Machine and one of the creators of thefifthquarter.com, and you are listening to the 90 Degree Show on the Marching Podcast Network.
We're back in the last segment, and you are listening to Tennessee State playing that Bond feature from last week. I really like this, maybe potentially one of the nominations for the Song of the Year. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show. We'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. We'll play your commercial, we'll post your website on our blog, and we'll help send out information through our social media and other contacts. So contact us so we can help to build your business. We're in the final segment of the show, and we're leaving the call lines open. We want to start the new segment here, Word on the Street. We'll read some comments here from the Fifth YouTube, Facebook, or whatever we saw. We'll bring Rashad back in here. I'll fade the aristocrats down here a little bit. It looks like we got someone here in the call queue here. We'll get to them in a second. Rashad here with here at our Word on the Street, man, and we only got not too much time since we went over the hour. But I wanted to go over two things with you, brother. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and bring this caller in right fast, and let's get them in and out the way. They've been holding long enough. Someone from the 410 area code. Caller, what's your name and where you calling from tonight?
Hey, fellas, it's Dr. Davenport.
Hey, Dr. Davenport, what's going on, man? How you doing tonight?
All right, how y'all?
Please check out Dr. Kevin O. Davenport's series, 2014 Directors 90 Degree Show Director Series for the listening enjoyment. We have it on our website. We have it on YouTube, our channel, but it's in 4 parts. Featuring our expert here, Dr. Davenport. And Dr. Davenport what used to be out there with Tennessee State calling in. How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm enjoying this show. I decided I would check out and see what this show was about. It's interesting. Of course, I listen to it and listen to the bands from a different perspective. First thing I got to say is this. Tennessee State gives out French horn scholarships, not mellophone scholarships. Okay, I guarantee you, everyone knows people up there holding the French mellophone is also a concert French horn player. That's number one.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Number two, I just want to kind of give a different perspective, and I'm not going to go into L's and W's. But according to the way that game was going and how fast Tennessee State football team was scoring, if that band has a lot of freshmen in it and they had to play the whole first half, they were worn out by fifth quarter. So I'm sure they played I'm So Glad. If they scored 35 points, they played I'm So Glad a lot in that first half.
Probably in the first quarter.
So, you know, this early in the season, I think with any band, you have to deal with endurance issues, especially if you have a band with a lot of freshmen in it. And with the philosophy of Tennessee State playing musically and playing balanced and blended, you know, I saw this happen to Norfolk State like in the mid-'90s where they got a huge tuba section, and everyone complained about their trumpet section that year, where if you're going to play musically and balanced and you want people to play within themselves musically, do you know how many trumpets it takes to balance against 31 tubas? I mean, the formula for trumpets to tubas is supposed to be 4-to-1.
Wow.
You should have 120 trumpets if you're pushing 30-something tubas. Otherwise, the only way you're going to get a balanced sound in that is people have got to play so far out of control that they're not going to be able to articulate. They're going to play out of tune. So that, you know, that could be an issue. Anytime one of your sections grows faster than another, that becomes an issue. So, you know, I wasn't at the game. I would never try to judge two bands using a video, because you don't know what kind of microphone the person the video was using, and a lot of microphones will pick up lows better than highs or highs better than lows. So I wouldn't even try to do it as an L or a W. What I'm telling you is, you know, there are balance issues and endurance issues there that take a while to work themselves out. You know, I don't know who the young man is talking about taking all the mellophone scholarships away, but I would never give mellophone players scholarships for just being able to scream notes out just because they're over the staff either.
That, you know, and this really, you bring up an interesting point, because it's really, as basically it is sounding definitely, it is difference of philosophy, but definitely you talked about it a lot in your in the director series about, you know, being band and concert band. Definitely the musicianship. It's definitely something that needs to be said, definitely something to be brought out. But definitely there is some, I mean, we are in marching band world, you know what I'm saying? Where it's
absolutely.
like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, like, hey, Tennessee State sounded good and they probably had the pyramid adjusted, but where is your heart? You know what I'm saying? Where are your cojones, so to speak? You know what I'm saying?
I go back to this. This is the second week of September. If you are a freshman in a Tennessee State band with that book, having to play in that venue and having to play that many times in the first half, you haven't grown your cojones yet. It's like weightlifting. It's like football players. You expect a freshman to come in football into a college program, a big-time college program. What are you going to really expect them to do? It takes a while to develop. And that's all I'm saying is that, you know, you can, you know, put down sections here or there, but it takes a while to build up the armature to be able to endure 4 quarters of football, halftime, and a fifth quarter. And we know anytime there's a Jackson State, Tennessee State fifth quarter, it's going to go on for a while.
So,
if you're not, go ahead.
I was going to say, so they definitely should be ready. That goes into your yearly plan. Those Tennessee State directors need to have that yearly plan in place, because they say, hey, man, you know, we got freshmen going to Jackson State this week. You know what I'm saying? They need to come with it.
You can't do a yearly plan with incoming freshmen, mainly because you don't know the plan. You don't truly know the playing level when they get there. And while Tennessee State had a week or two extra, it still takes a while to build to that.
They probably shouldn't have came then.
But I'm going to flip it on the other side. They should have came. But let me flip the other side, because I heard you all talk about Jackson State being a little flat at halftime. Well, believe it or not, the way the football game goes in the first half can psychologically affect the band when they hit the field at halftime.
That's true. That is true.
And if the football team is getting blown out, some of your hype has been taken away from you. So you get on that field and you try to get it back, but if all the emotions have been drained out of you because your team's getting whooped, it's hard to get yourself back up for halftime. So see, it works on both sides.
It does, and I'm glad that you guys were able to break down the music side of it, because, you know, it is important. You know, we always talk about, you know, what we see, but definitely the integrity and the value to go into different layers. So definitely good talk about this. I wanted to get into, I only got like 10 minutes left, and I'll leave you on, Dr. Davenport, till we go to the end. I wanted to talk about the BCU trombone player and the Panthers kicker. Just let me say this to you right quick, because this Tom Joyner thing, I wanted to get in that, but we're not going to have enough time like I thought. I'll just say I appreciate and I give the young man a shout out here. Let me look for my applause. You know, I get all my news from HBCU Digest, and the young man's news was Markel Ballard. I just want to say, you know, shout out to you for keeping your cool. A lot of us on the 5th Facebook, a lot of us were talking mad noise about what we would have done, or what was accustomed to what, you know what I'm saying, it was like similar to when someone breaks the ranks, or, you know, what ends up happening to them. I even heard Bomani Jones Clark, Atlanta graduate, say this past week on ESPN. Just talk about those aren't the band geeks you think about. That's a HBCU. Just let me say, just right quick, shouts out to you, man, for keeping your cool. Apparently, Bethune-Cookman was late for when they were supposed to be there. Again, this is what the reports say. Bethune was late, and I guess they were either supposed to be out there or either the performance was either supposed to have been finished. And apparently Dr. Wells was actually out on the field talking to NFL officials while all this was going on. So there was a little drama going on, but of course they patted it all around, Bethune being late. I hope that's not necessarily the case, true, but I want to give the young man shots out for what he did, for keeping his cool. If he would have poked dude in the eyes with his trombone slide, which I kind of wanted him to do, if he would have done that, he would have probably faced criminal charges. Bethune-Cookman would have had a huge scandal. That would have been the hugest thing. These HBCU bands always are fighting. Back in 1993, and it would have been on HBO. So shouts out to you, man, for keeping you cool. I don't know what I would have done. I just know I was mad when he had his hand and he pushed him. I just pissed me off, man. You know what I'm saying? But cool heads prevailed. So thank you to that. Right quick, Tom Joyner, I want to ask you both. Tom Joyner said on his show that, and let me read the specific quote here, HBCU bands do a great job within the Stone, don't get me wrong, but y'all step it up. Love my HBCU bands, but we have to step it up. Apparently he had a whole lot more to say. And, this is what I got here from Tom Joyner. Just let me say this really fast. I'm going to give it to you, Rashad, and then I'm going to let you close it out, Dr. Davenport. I was heartbroken because someone who's supposed to be waving the flag for HBCUs had no idea what he was talking about. If he knew so much about HBCUs, he would know something about the Fifth. Or he would have brought up on his show, or I don't know, Christy would be an analyst on his show, so he could know what he was talking about. But he really put out there how out of touch he is somewhat with our schools. You said in the Stone, brother? Really? In the Stone? Wow. He also brought up Get Ready. So that pissed me off not because I'm from Jackson State, but that also showed how much he knows. That's like a de facto fight song. Or, no one's going to say, I don't want to hear Let's Go Wildcats anymore. Those are the de facto songs where that certain band is coming to town. You wouldn't hear someone bring up those songs when they say, oh, we got to step it up. I'm tired of hearing these songs. It's kind of a integral part. And also, at the end, he said In the Stone. I don't know, where he got In the Stone. But we already talked about this on the 5th. For all the people listening, I'm sure they listen, they be on the 5th. The 5th chewed out this conversation like last year. Ohio State was on Pardon the Interruption, or they were making some big headlines otherwhere. This was like last year's news. And basically what it came to was like, yes, there is some, precision issues. They're definitely, Ohio State is definitely doing their thing. But the animations are old news. And, we are always, while we do this show, we are on the 5th. That's why we're always talking and constantly going back and forth about how we can get better at schools. So it was just disappointing for him to say it and not even have the background to even present to the public. Because, of course, that's what the news ran with that day is, hey, this guy who was always talking about black schools was getting on the bands. You know what I mean? What's wrong with those bands? If he's so cool about HBCUs, So it just made us look bad. And so I will go into more, but go ahead, man. Rashad, what do you think, man?
Well, real quick, I just want to say thanks, Dr. Davenport, for coming on board because, when we're arguing, it's like a bunch of brothers arguing, and it's like he's like Optimus Prime on here. You're like, listen, Bumblebee, some to the Decepticons. Never think about it this way. And then you transform it to a truck or something. But, Joe, honestly, man, for real talk, I really couldn't disagree with you more. We are completely different realms right here. Because I honestly think that Tom Joyner has the right to say that. Because I think that Tom Joyner has been following bands longer than both of us, And I think he's been to the games, but he's not a band head, but he's a fan. You know, and we have a right to listen to our fans, and I think that he gives to the schools. You know, I think there's only so much that you can say about a brother who says something about a band, but then you turn on the radio Friday morning, and what do you hear? You hear Jackson State's band playing in the background while he's doing his show. I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. I think he has a right to say that, and I think when it comes to Ohio State right now, I don't know what anybody's going to do. Because that last show that I just saw them do with Bart skateboarding and all kinds of stuff, I was like, that's phenomenal. Some of the things that they do, any one of those things, like if a band made Bart Simpson on the field, any one of our bands made that, that would be like the highlight of the show. Like we all say, oh, yeah, you know, we've done animation for a long time. But generally it's like one animation, you know, and like, wow, that was amazing. Fam, you made it rain. But they did 8 minutes of back-to-back-to-back-to-back things. And I remember I was going to a football game with some of my friends, and we were, we were riding, and we were talking about Ohio State, and all of a sudden they started watching the video of Ohio State doing something. And you know what they said? They said the exact same thing Tom Jordan said. Just like, that was amazing, man. These black college bands got to step it up. Because everybody knows that black college bands have got it going on. But this stuff that they're doing, that's a whole new level. And we do need to step it up. It's the same thing that we're talking about, where we have these gimmicks, you know, big girls coming out and all that type of stuff. That's all great. But honestly, what else can we do to take it to the next, to really take it to the next level?
Well, see, that's what my confusion is, because I don't think anyone said that he didn't have the right to. Like, and when I'm going at him, I'm not saying he didn't have the right to say it. But my thing is that if your animation, if Ohio State's animation is the only thing that is dazzling you, we're actually talking about a list of parameters when we say, oh, this person took an L or this person. I don't know the showmanship of Ohio State. I don't know what they play in the stands. I don't know how they excite me. I don't see, you know, I don't know anything about Rock the House or if they do some type of trademark every week that's exciting. If they got Bart Simpson skateboarding, that's awesome. But what else is the band doing? You know what I'm saying? If it's all about animations, like we said, Fam and other people have been doing that. To me, it's always, I like their precision. I think their precision's better. But again, that's just one element of the show. Are you going to outperform A&T's show if you're Ohio State? You're going to dazzle people, but are you going to be involving so much with themes and doing something like that? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, and I can say like, oh yeah, you know, we need to step that up more. But what's to the level of these people of Ohio State going to the fifth quarter, or how many people? I mean, is it that exciting to the level of what we're talking about? I think that's kind of my point.
Can I?
So, oh yeah, I'm sorry, Dr. Davenport. Oh damn. Okay,
well,
we got 2 minutes. Go ahead. I want you to close out, Dr. Davenport. Go ahead, brother.
Well, number one, I've been following Ohio State since high school. They do some exciting things. They get their crowd hyped. They do the cursive or the script Ohio on the field and have the tuba player dotted. That's their traditional thing. They do it in pregame. But, well, one thing with the Tom Jordan thing, he's talking about stuff that happened a year ago, and the band director's not even there anymore. That's number one. But number two is, for a lot of things that they do, most of our HBU, we don't know what bands Tom Jordan is seeing either. Because there's some bands out there that he needs to tell to step it up. We know that. There's some HBCUs that need to step it up a whole lot. And we see those. But it takes big-time money to do the kind of stuff that Ohio State's doing on the field. Big-time money, big-time staff. I don't know if you've seen the production of how they put the horse on the field, where every student in the band has an iPad where their particular spot is animated through the whole show.
I did see that. I did see they got iPads. I did notice that.
What kind of finances, what kind of staff they have in place? Because I assure you, Ohio State has a massive staff to accomplish those kinds of things. We can do them. I can tell you the animation's not that hard. But it takes a lot of time, and it takes having a lot of money backing you to have what you need in order to constantly put that on the field. And, you know, we can tell our bands to step it up, but are we getting the money put behind our bands to have them step it up? Because it ain't that easy without finances.
And let's go ahead and end it on that. We'll probably bring up this more next week, especially as how much is time joined or given. I guess that would be the end all. Thanks to Rashad. Thanks to you, Dr. Davenport. Thanks for the young brother calling in from Tennessee State. That's all the time we have for the show. Check out the website and donate what's in your heart to the Marching Podcast. Like that, Marie. Thanks to you for listening, and remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.